but we gotta get the supervisor in too.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call roll?
Supervisor Santino.
There we go.
Here.
Councilman Ambrosino.
Turn
Councilman
slide.
Blakeman. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney. Supervisor of Taxes Donnelly.
Okay. Before we get to the formal part of the meeting, we have some pleasant duties to attend to, so I will come forward. This evening we are proud to recognize some of Hempstead Town's best and brightest before we begin the formal portion of tonight's meeting. Our first honoree this evening is a young lady from Lido Beach, a freshman at Long Beach High School. I'd like to invite Councilwoman Erin King Sweeney to join me as we recognize Sydney Brett Leland. Proving that beauty is more than skin deep, Sydney discovered a love for community service when she began volunteering as a component of local beauty pageants. Sydney has taken this passion for helping others to a new level, volunteering more than 300 hours of her time, earning her the Bronze, Silver, and Gold Presidential Volunteer Service Awards from President Obama. She also recently earned the Youth Hero Award from WGBB Radio. Sydney's volunteerism is impressive in and of itself, but there's more. She also maintained a straight A average as a high school freshman. Achieving success at school, Sydney has overcome dyslexia, which often negatively impacts students' academic performance. Sydney has used her struggle to encourage others with learning challenges to achieve their goals. Sydney has taken her experiences with dyslexia as her inspiration in working with an organization called FAB, Fashion Against Bullying. Tonight, Hempstead Town is honored to recognize Sydney Brett Leland for her impressive efforts to improve the lives of others. Sydney, want to come on? Our next honorees have been named semi-finalists in the Siemens Westinghouse Science and Technology Competition. These students have challenged themselves, earned the admiration of dedicated teachers, and shared the gifts of academic excellence with friends, colleagues, and family. Our honorees tonight should all be very proud of themselves. 466 students were named semi-finalists nationwide, with 84 students residing in New York State and 6 students residing right here in the town of Hempstead. These students work diligently and deserve our recognition for their dedication and hard work. The first group of outstanding students whom we are honored to recognize tonight includes Remy Golden and Alex Fishtel of Hewlett High School. Janab, Remy, and Alex, please come forward. And now let's welcome Robert Evans of Division Avenue High School in Levittown. And now Katrina Amdavar of Oceanside High School. Katrina, come on forward. Congratulations. And he cannot join with us tonight, but I would like to recognize Brandon Young of Garden City High School, who is also a semifinalist. I want to thank you all for joining us here this evening. Let's have a big round of applause for these remarkable students. I would also like to recognize the parents and teachers of these wonderful school districts for their hard work, their dedication, and encouragement. And this is really something very special for the town of Hempstead. We're very proud each and every year to have a very significant number of young people honored in this way, and I think that's something that we as a community should be very proud of. So again, congratulations to these fine young ladies. We have another very, very special opportunity tonight to honor one of our own here in the town of Hempstead. This last Saturday, and I was proud to be able to be there, Senior Councilwoman Dorothy Gooseby received the prestigious 2016 President's Award from the National Coalition of 100 Black Women at the Long Island Chapter's annual gala, which was held at Jericho Terrace in New York. The organization represents a group of dynamic women who are leaders in their profession and in the community. A trailblazer and a history maker, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby was the first African-American woman to serve on the town board. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby works tirelessly for her constituents in Councilmanic District Number 1. Dorothy recently served a term as president of the Association of Towns in the state of New York. In that role, she represented more than 900 member townships across the state. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby is a dedicated public servant, and I am proud to have worked with her on this town board for the past 15 years. It is my honor to present Senior Councilwoman Dorothy Gooseby with a citation in honor of her prestigious achievement.
Well, this is a surprise. I really did not expect this. but I'm very grateful, and certainly has been an honor and a pleasure, and will continue to be a pleasure for me to serve on this town board. The town of Hempstead is one of the most prestigious towns of all, and certainly I am very honored and pleased to have represented you on the Association of Towns. And I will continue to represent you in the Association of Towns. You don't know, but now I'm going to become a member of the organization of Building One America. So that's my next goal, and certainly I'm proud to be the senior councilwoman for the town of Hempstead. And thank all of you so very much. It's not something I expected, but certainly I'm very pleased and thank you. And thank you for being able to work with such wonderful people. God bless.
I would have had on my business cards if I had them. The people gonna miss the whole meeting.
Move forward, please.
Supervisor Santino, on the administrative calendar, we have items number 1 through 45.
Okay.
23.
Do I have a motion on the administrative calendar, items number 1 to 45? Does anybody wish to sever any items on the calendar? If not, can I have a motion?
I move the administrative calendar is entirely.
Okay, before we move with a vote, we'll address members of the public who would like to speak. Nita Meredith?
Good evening, Nita J. Meredith, 758 Wesley Street, Baldwin, New York. In reference to item number 23, just like to get some clarification with regard to what necessitated this move, how many people are impacted by this, and basically if we can look at providing this type of service, why aren't we looking at videotaping the meetings for those residents who cannot attend them so they can find out what's going on?
Well, we're looking at all ways to enhance services. One immediate thought was to make these meetings more accessible to individuals with hearing impairments. It's a minimal cost, and now individuals who must rely on sign language interpreters can attend our meetings and be, fully engaged in the meeting. But it's obviously one step of many that we're looking forward to implement.
Okay, when you say minimal cost, what is minimal? Free?
No, it's not free. It's a not-for-profit organization. I don't have that directly with me. Commissioner D'Esposito, I think, would have that.
They stop it.
It's $150 That's for 2 hours.
So it's $150 for 2 hours for 2 interpreters for every meeting?
Yes.
Okay, evening within the daytime meetings, okay. And again, I'm just trying to get an idea of how many, as far as the demographic, how many are we discussing? As far as that servicing, do we have an idea?
No, I think the point is you're trying to get us to quantify how many hearing impaired residents we have in the town. We don't have that information, but
Okay.
obviously, we'll be doing other things moving forward in terms of people who are not fully conversant in English. There are other things we're going to be doing. I can't quantify how many people will fit into each one of those subsets, but certainly there are people with hearing impairments in the town of Hempstead, and this will make it easier for them to be engaged in these meetings.
Okay, well, we do have an idea based upon our tax base, how many taxpayers that we do have, and I'm still concerned as to why we have not progressively been looking into providing a video format for the town meetings for residents. I appreciate the fact that we now have evening meetings for some residents who cannot attend in the daytime, but
As I said,
we know the numbers as far as the taxpayers.
as I indicated, we are looking at various ways to make the meetings more accessible, and this is my first full meeting as town supervisor, and this was an initiative I wanted to take for a long time. It was a minimal cost. I think it is something that's very efficacious. I think it's something that will benefit residents of the township, and it's essentially very close to motherhood and apple pie. So.
I see. Okay, on item number 12, declaring emergency in regard to open abandoned one-family dwellings. I see that there are 3 locations in Baldwin. What are those addresses?
Commissioner Rockcamp?
Good evening, Supervisor, members of the Town Board. The address is 3325 Bayfront Drive, that was twice, and 840 West East Street.
So what exactly are you going to be doing on 840 Wesley?
There were basement doors that were open for water, and water went up.
So repaired again?
That is correct.
We just had that feeling. That's my area. Okay, well, in my last minute and a half, again, I am just hopeful that we're going into 2016 and we're looking a little more aggressively at the increased number of vacancies in the Baldwin downtown area. It's nice to see all of the building and development improvement in our neighboring communities, but where we live and work, we like to think that people understand that we like to go out to eat, things we like to do as opposed to walking past abandoned buildings on Grand Avenue. And lastly, again, I'm hoping that the town will look at expanding the support services that it provides to our veterans. We have a number of contracting opportunities that I still don't see these companies listed as far as getting contracts, being inclusive in a progressive way with regard to building our veteran businesses. They're still pretty much stagnant, and we are losing our student veterans who are getting a prime education in our colleges and universities. So if I have to keep coming here in the evening or in the daytime to get that point across, hopefully it will resonate with someone somewhere. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a good evening. Mr. Henry Boytel. Can we have your address for the record, please? For the stenographer, please.
For the stenographer.
Yeah, that's the record.
324 Brower Avenue, Rockville Center, New York. Congratulations, sir, on
Good evening.
election
Yes, sir.
to those who were re-elected recently. I'm speaking on this issue or the question of the provision of signing, which I think is an excellent idea.
Good.
I'm really happy to see that you're doing that. I'd like to pick up on something the prior speaker raised, and that is the availability of information to the general public, because just as people with hearing impairment or other circumstances that prevent them from being able to participate fully in meetings or to become aware of what happens in meetings. We have the general public at large, which has really no access to these meetings unless they come here at hours which almost universally are inconvenient for the average person, the average homeowner, the average worker, the average parent who's taking care of children, etc. 7 o'clock at night is probably not a very good hour for any of those people to leave the home, nor is 10 o'clock in the morning. Yet, we have a court reporter here who takes a transcript of these proceedings at significant cost, and that transcript is lodged someplace in North Hempstead in a cryptic stenographic type, not accessible to the public. And these are minutes of this proceeding. My understanding is that minutes are supposed to be provided and available to the public within 2 weeks of each meeting, and these minutes are not. I made a FOIL request for the minutes and for information concerning the cost of producing the transcript and the cost of producing the stenographer being here, and a copy of the contract relating to that. I've received from Mr. Amarini a letter in response to part of that request, advising that the town is not prepared to undertake to pay the cost, and that it is deemed appropriate that if the public wants it, they should pay for it. By arranging with a third party who is not an official of this town board and who is not even in this town board in terms of where the office is that the transcript is maintained. So I urgently request that before we have to proceed to an Article 78,
Keep going, sir.
with respect to this, that this body come up with a resolution, which I'd be happy to prepare, but you have plenty of facility to produce that sort of thing, that provides for the transcript being available. That's item number 1. That is available, in fact, by being on file with the county clerk, with the town clerk, as it ought to be. Second, that there be a video of these recordings, and that video be available, as should be the transcript, on the town's website. Third, if you can raise the money for it, and you may be able to raise the money for it from other sources. And I should indicate that the cost of all of these things are probably amount on an annual basis to less than the cost of one of the many mailings that emanate from this body to the public. So I thank you for giving me the additional time, and I urgently request that you take some steps toward making these proceedings more available to the public, who certainly have a right to know what is happening in their name.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. On the administrative calendar, Felix Procacci.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Bond Street, Franklin Square, New York. Again, like the other speakers, I'm speaking on item number 23. I'm not going to repeat, but I basically agree with all of what the previous speakers said. As far as videotaping the meetings, you're considering this, you're considering that. Mr. Santino, I have put up a website. If you'd like to see it, I have it here. I asked for the display to be used, but they wouldn't allow me to do it. But it provides all the meetings for the last 2 years that I've recorded. On the front page, there's 6 of the most recent meetings, including the inauguration in its entirety. And if you click on the link on the top, it provides a link to the archives, and each week, as I get time, I'm adding more and more videos to it, so you can go back to 2013. Also on the website is all the consolidated annual financial reports from 2003 to 2014, everything that's available, and all the budgets going back to 2008 in PDF searchable format. So it's available for free to the town of Hempstead. We're spending over $4,000 on this signage thing. For free, you can use my link, you can use the data, you have my word. None of these links will ever be broken. So you'll never have an embarrassing situation where someone will click on something on the town's website and they will not receive it. I guarantee that everything will be done. It's duplicated. I duplicate my website regularly. So I always have a backup if there's an emergency situation, something goes down with the server. So we have it available for free. Video service, the minutes of the meeting, I'm foiling them regularly. They're available for free. No one has to foil them anymore. I have them on my website for the last 4 months for free. Each month I'm foiling more and more minutes. I'm going to go back to 2013. As far as the Association of Towns, Dorothy Gooseby, they recommend a 5-minute rule, as I brought up many times. The purpose of these meetings is to get people engaged, not to, try to restrict them from coming to meetings. They make a great effort, and now you put the clock in front of them. Dorothy Gooseby accused me of forging the Association of Towns manual at one time. The senior councilwoman was not even aware of the manual. It's really, a disgraceful situation. We should follow the recommendations on the Association of Towns. Since we're sending people to this for training, you should at least, at very minimum, read the manual for which you are president of. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. May I have is there anyone else on the administrative calendar? Those are the only slips I have. Okay, that being said, may I have a vote on the administrative calendar? Yes.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Aye. Councilman Blakeman.
Before I vote, there are 3 items that I would like to highlight. First of all, items number 7 through 9. Item 7, caps fees for the Yeshiva of South Shore. In my district, that is an educational institution that is outstanding. It's very important to the community, and I'm very happy that we are doing that today. In addition, Congregation Base Ephraim Yitzhak, we're doing the same thing with them. They are a congregation in our community that is an outstanding religious organization. And most importantly, item number 9 is Hatzalah. Hatzalah is a volunteer ambulance EMT company that operates in the southern part of my councilmatic district, and they do an outstanding job, free of charge. They're volunteers, and I'm very happy that we are moving those 3 items. Lastly, I am recusing myself from item number 30. Please reflect in the minutes that I'm not taking part in any debate, discussion, or vote, as I have an ongoing relationship and have had a past relationship with Canon Inc. and Canon Financial Services is a subsidiary of Canon Inc. Thank you. And I vote aye, except for number 30.
Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Aye, with the exception of items 23, which are please
Why?
May I have a motion?
I move that we approve.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Aye.
Okay, we adjourned the formal part of the meeting. Now, as indicated, we will, the board will stay behind to listen to the thoughts and comments of residents who have joined with us who want to address the board. And Richard Sherman.
Good evening. Richard Sherman, 167 Jefferson Avenue, Culver Island, New York. It's my understanding that the town of Hempstead was the subrecipient for the CRP money that my town of Culver Island was to receive. But at some point that changed, and the Nassau County is now the subrecipient, designated subrecipient of CRP monies for the community in which I live. Is that true?
Well, let's get Commissioner Rockensees from our engineering department to give us clarification on that.
Yeah, I know we don't have a project for Harbor Isle. I'm not sure if the county does or not. I know we have one for Oceanside, for anybody for Oceanside.
Are you the subrecipient?
For Oceanside, yes.
For Harbor Isle?
I don't believe Harbor Isle is included in our study, so it might be Nassau County. I don't know if they have, I don't know what the county has.
But you know for certain it's not. You know for certain it's not.
We don't have it.
Why isn't the town of Hempstead the subrecipient for Harbor Isle?
That's up to the governor's office of storm recovery.
Right.
To
The governor's office determined that.
They're running the New York Rising program, and they're.
Did you or anybody else at the town board request that the town of Hempstead not be the subrecipient for Harbor Isle? And that
Absolutely not. No, we did not request that. We were not. The governor's office determined who was going to be the subrecipient.
I also have a question regarding silico development, of which you're aware of.
Sure. Go ahead.
This past month, the appellate division issued a negative decision in the proceeding between the town of Hempstead and Silico. At issue was the covenant which the town board adopted, which, according to the court's decision, was they criticized it as being limited only to the Silico and not to future purchasers, and therefore they found it to be very suspect. My question
My
is,
sweatshirt.
will the town board amend that covenant?
The town board is going to appeal the decision. The town board believes it acted rightly in the best interest of the Harbor Isle community, and we fully intend to appeal the decision.
Is there a reason why the covenant was limited to the Silico and not to future purposes?
Mr. Sherman, something that may be subject, that is going to be subject to future litigation. We're not going to go into the details of it here. However, I'm happy to inform you that the town believes it made the right decision, and we are appealing the decision of the court.
Will the town board at least consider amending the covenant to make it consistent for all future purposes?
Again, I'm not going to answer any questions with respect to ongoing litigation. The town intends to use all avenues to pursue this vigorously in the interest of the residents of Harbor Isle. Now, I have a bunch of people who didn't indicate, they put question marks as to whether they want to speak or not, so I'll go down the line on that. Nancy Juris, if you want to speak. Okay, come on up. And Ms. Juris, your name and address for the record, please.
Nancy Garris, 513 North Atlanta Avenue, North Massapequa, New York. I'm here to speak on behalf of the adoption department at the Town Hempstead Animal Shelter. I'm the current adoption coordinator. We've been obviously faced with significant budget cuts, but I'm appealing to the board as we're working under a veil of somewhat vagary in regard to how these cuts are going to impact us. There's been very little communicated to us directly, other than the fact that we were told by the director that $100,000 would be taken from overtime and $100,000 from part-time staff. Additionally, I know that there's been rumors circulating in regard to perhaps cutting back adoption hours to a traditional 9-to-5 civil service scheduling. I don't know where you stand in these discussions. We have very little information information. I'm just here to say that I certainly hope moving forward that extended adoption hours, including adoption hours into the evening, as we have a 12 to 8 adoption day on Thursdays, is imperative to the success of getting animals placed into homes. And certainly while I understand that budgets are stringent, $100,000 from part-time and from overtime, I feel is making cuts that will directly impact the care and the well-being of the animals and the staff at the shelter. More and more people are working extended shifts. It's starting to compromise the health and safety of both the animals and the people involved. So I implore you, at whatever point in the discussion you're in, to kindly please consider that we are an animal shelter, but we are also an adoption center. We've made many strides in the past several years, and I would like to see that progress continue. We're very pleased with our adoption rates. In December, we had 125 animals go directly into homes, and those are numbers to be proud of. However, we can't do that without appropriate staffing, nor can we do that on a 9-to-5 schedule. So at whatever point you are in your decision-making, and unfortunately we as staff are not privy to where you are in that decision-making, I certainly implore you to take these things into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Barbara Thomas?
No.
Let's speak, no speak. Okay, fine, thank you. Alfredia Firma? Yes, no? Okay. Wendy Fernandez? Yes, no? Okay. Joanne Lindner Lecknet?
Yes.
Yes or no? Go ahead.
Yes.
Oh. Yes, you have to come up here. Yes, thank you. And Ms. Lecknet, if you would, just your name and address, because there is a recorded record, so if you could just put that into the microphone.
My name is Joanne Leckner. Address is 1444 Dewey Avenue, North Carolina Road. I'm here for the animal shelter. I have a few questions, and I hope maybe you can answer them.
Right there.
Okay. I just heard, one of my first questions was that has the budget been cut? I've been wondering. And the answer apparently is yes.
Well, let me just clarify what that is. We are, right now, like most municipalities, particularly here on Long Island, we're still going through a very difficult economy. We are considering various economies, savings across the township. No one single department is being singled out. We are considering a wide range of efficiencies that we think we can implement because of the fact that we have budgetary considerations that we simply must address. So while no final decisions have been made, efforts to reduce costs and to, again, achieve greater efficiencies, we are looking at every service, every department across the board.
I appreciate your answer. I would ask that you not cut the budget in regards to the shelter. I have been informed that there is at least a year waiting list for people who are begging someone from the town to come and trap an animal so that it can be spayed neutered within a year. That cat can reproduce, I can't tell you how many times. So the town at this point is against the grain, because now you've got, if you had 100 cats, maybe now it's 500 cats, and now you're going to be picking up 500 instead of the initial 100. I would ask that the town maybe hire trappers who know what they're doing on a part-time basis. If you make a big sweep at the beginning, it'll be cheaper in the long run because you're going to be getting 100 cats, not 500 cats. That's a lot of man hours. It used to be where you could go to the shelter if you had one or two. Trapping a cat is not easy.
So go ahead, Dick. I can do the thing. Go ahead.
Trapping a cat is not easy, especially a feral cat. You may get it, you may not get it. It used to be that you were allowed to walk in with two. In other words, if you caught a cat, you walk in and you come in there, and they would accept the 2 in the morning. Now you have to have an appointment. The appointments are backlogged at least 6 to 8 weeks from what I understand. In 6 to 8 weeks, you can have another 6 or 8 litters from different cats. I believe if you put your money up in the front of the situation, in the long run, it would be cheaper for the town. I asked that they would change the situation and go back to where you can bring 1 or 2 in. In other words, if it's a nice night or a nice day, and you go out and you trap and you get them, I as an individual cannot hold them 6 or 8 weeks. And the town is also at times telling people to release them. You don't have an appointment, I can't help you, so release them. You're never going to get that cat again. There's much that the town can learn from individual people. I would be glad to sit down with the town. I called, I don't remember his name. Who's running the town shelter at this point?
Mr. Pastore.
I called him twice, I've never received a call back. But I would appreciate it if you would think about reinstating the open door policy where you can go on with the cat if you've cat home. Waiting 6 or 8 weeks, I mean, you can't expect people to hold these animals if they catch them. And it's not right for the animals. So I would appreciate if you would reconsider that whole policy change. I would also appreciate that if somebody calls, that the man in charge would please return phone calls. I think that's only polite.
Thank you very much. Stephanie Capuano. Your name and address for the record, because there is a report.
I'm from Wandsworth. I do a great community service for 16 years. My thing is the cats. I love to rescue. And I feel bad for leaving innocent cats. And the Town Hempstead program, I need that program. I live in Nassau. I pay a lot of taxes. I own a house. I got into rescue. I'm willing to do the work, as so many of us. We trap, you to release. How am I supposed to trap a pregnant cat? Where am I going to take it now? I used to be able to go to the town, drop it off. Now I can't do that. I can't hold on to a pregnant cat. And then you can't recover it. There's appointments now till the end of February. We just called. They're reducing the amount of hours. We can only go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those days you need an appointment, not until the end of February. Not only that, they're only doing, I think, 15 cats a day. That's 45 cats a week. Now, this is an important program. For me, it's very important. Maybe it's not to you, but to me it is. And I want to reduce the population on Long Island. It's so important. And people have cats all over the place. I'm willing to help, as in many others. We log in the hours, the time. I go to the beach every day. I do that page. I do people's neighborhoods when they find out. I mean, I have other things I could do, but I like to do it. I can't afford to do this on my own. I really can't. And it's just important to me. Can they get back on track with this program, maybe the TNO program, so we can eliminate some future overpopulation problems at the shelter? And also, I have other things, you know, they reduced the shots. We used to be able to get the rabies, distemper, anti-flea. Now it's just, I believe it's just the rabies shot. I love the town of Hempstead at the beginning. I just want to do what is right for the animals and for the community. I think it's a great service for the community, and I think it's well.
As I'm sure you know, we perform more DNRs. TNRs, pardon me. TNRs. Been a long day. And than any other municipality on on Long Island. We do more annually than any other municipality on Long Island. And each year that since we've instituted the program, the number has gone up. So, look, it's a great program. We support the program, and we're certainly trying to continue to improve it and make it more
I
effective.
think it's just more compassionate. It's more humane than to euthanize.
You'll-
I'd rather spend
you'll
my
get-
taxpayers' money.
You'll get no disagreement here.
That's how I'd rather spend my taxpayers' money than euthanasia.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to know where this will happen in the improvement of the program.
Well, you'll see as we move forward.
Thank you.
Bonnie or Ronnie Radish? Okay, sorry about that.
Are we giving it full town board?
My name is Bonnie Radashka. I live at 714 Birchwood Drive, Westbury, New York.
Go to the mic.
Welcome.
Thank you. Before I start reading my note, I have a question for the board that came to me as I was sitting on the Long Island Railroad on my long commute home, which is, what is this board's expectation of the director who runs the Hempstead Animal Shelter?
Well, ma'am, I mean, we're here to listen to your comments and
Well,
concerns.
I'm a taxpayer and I'm asking you as an elected.
Obviously, the answer is to do the very best job possible on behalf of the
Okay,
taxpayer.
thank you. I appreciate your answer. Thank you. Okay. I am very concerned that the off-site adoption budget for 2016 has decreased, yet the crematory budget has increased. This, to me, translates into less dogs and cats getting adopted and more dogs and cats expected to be killed. Working with rescue groups and shelters, it has been my experience that participating in off-site adoption events increases the adoption rate. Many people network the animals that are housed at Hempstead, but making public appearances is equally important to give these animals much needed exposure, especially the long-term residents who would seem to be invisible. Everything should be done to find homes for the dogs and cats who have been there for 2 years. They should be the dogs who get to go to these events first and given top priority. I asked Last Hope Rescue Inc. what makes their adoption so successful. Their response was, we evaluate each dog, we set the dog up with a buddy for their buddy program. The dog is worked with every day to get them ready for adoption. They also do home inspections prior to releasing the dog to ensure that the home is a suitable environment. They said that this is key to success. This rescue has less money than Hempstead, yet they are more successful at adoptions. The shelter needs to reach out to the community to get more volunteers and foster parents. Every dog should have the opportunity to get walked at least once a day. Even the best dog will get kennel crazy if not exercised enough, and this just sets them up to fail. On holidays, the shelter should have a skeleton crew on board to walk dogs. Many volunteers have said they would be happy to volunteer on a holiday if they were allowed to do so. Owner request for euthanizing an animal does not specify a reason on the FOIL reports. I think that it is important to disclose. As a taxpayer, would like to see that information indicated. This will give transparency of how many animals are being killed due to illness or being killed needlessly. I believe that the shelter is going in the wrong direction. These requests are not unreasonable or impossible to achieve or even cost a lot of money. Logan is a perfect example of taking the easy way out. Instead of thinking the situation through, examining all the facts, exploring all alternatives, Logan was scheduled to be killed. This is what I've been told by many people who work there. If it were not for a petition to allow Logan to go to rescue, that dog would be dead. I don't know what the criteria was or is for a director of a shelter in Hempstead, but in 2016, it's time to raise the bar. I don't believe that this director, from what I've been told, has a proven background in life-saving programs, and he has diminished and destroyed programs under his leadership that have already been in place that were successful. Whatever happened to the bully program that was so successful? Tia Torres from Pit Bulls and Parolees is a person who has a top-rated television show and celebrity status and is a major asset that this shelter could not afford to lose. Thank you very much.
Stuart Kroll. Okay, thank you. Lucille Defina.
Lucille Defina, 2749 Merrick Avenue, Merrick. And I'd like to say congratulations to you now being town supervisor. And this seems, just what I'm hearing tonight, I feel like we went backwards. This is what we've been talking about for the last 2 years. Since Mike Pastore came in, we saw it happening. It's been going downhill. It's been a very slow progression that we tried to stop. Cheryl Petrie has defended him to the end, and Kate Marie just was biding her time. But now you're here and you have taken over, and I hope you are aware that we were never making this up, and this is the results we're going to start living in. And I really hate for 2016 to be 2010 all over again. That is not what we want. We don't want to have to fight that battle. We just want this board to have compassion for our animals. You have a lot of good people in the shelter who really care, and they're trying to do the best that they can, but they're being intimidated, bullied, they're being pushed out. We've lost many of them. We only have a few left. And this is something that we cannot sit back and just allow this to happen. People are going to come forward. We have to do it again, we'll do it again. You cannot cut these programs. You cannot cut the hours. You cannot cut adoption events. You cannot cut TNR. Yes, there's a lot of things you can cut, but these are live animals, these are living creatures, and this is not the area. If you want to cut anything, cut Mike Pastore's $100,000 salary.
Elizabeth Reiter. And your name and address for the recorded record, if you would, please.
Elizabeth Reiter, 290 Green Street, Franklin Square, New York. Good evening. I'd like to speak about the animal shelter. It is a great importance to me. 6 years ago, I adopted a dog from there, and I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified. I went back about 2 years ago, and it was a wonderful place. Over the past year, I have watched things deteriorate to a point that I am so upset that I'm here after I have worked 14 hours. The director does not like to compromise or cooperate or listen to anybody, and now he's cutting the budget for adoption events, TNR. The only reason you do that is to increase euthanasia. It's really kind of unacceptable. And it's uncalled for that a shelter that was becoming one of the most progressive shelters on the island, if not in the state of New York, has gone back in time to the point where New York AC&C is more progressive than the town Hempstead Animal Shelter.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, town doesn't do play groups, AC&C does. I don't think he is aware of that, though. I've watched good employees be pushed out. I myself have been treated unfairly by certain employees there. Most of them are fantastic, lovely, wonderful people who work hard and deserve that recognition. But, I've been a manager for over 16 years. If I ran my business or store the way the director runs at that animal shelter, I would be fired. And I would probably be brought up on charges for discrimination. And I mean, I don't see how in this day and age you can allow that to continue. I really don't. You know, you really can't allow the shelter to continue to be run like this. You know, stop letting this be the Tammany Hall of animal shelters. Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Diane Madden?
Don't blame me. I've been saying this for a year. But the shelter is deteriorating. And the difference today, as opposed to a year ago, and regardless of personal feelings, Cindy Acapella would have fought tooth and nail Cheryl Petrie and anyone else she had to, because I heard the screaming matches. She wouldn't allow the budget cuts. So let's start there. She would have fought for her staff, her hardworking staff. She would have fought for her animals. She would have fought for the progress that she made along with people that worked with her. This wouldn't be happening. You wouldn't have staff sitting here probably being intimidated by the presence of the director as they are intimidated in their work field. And Liz is right. He would be thrown out of a leadership position if you were running anything in the private sector, because you don't treat people like this. And if you're capable of treating people the way he has, you should be overseeing animals. Supervisor, you mentioned at the last town board meeting that Tomas is a no-kill shelter. And I was thrilled to hear that. I don't believe that at this point, but it tells me that you may have a vision, unlike the director. And if that's what you want to do, you need to find leadership. Talk about asking for resignations. That's the resignation you should have asked for. You need to find a leader with a no-kill mentality that has a vision for progressive sheltering.
I did mention to you, Ms. Madden, that I want to get together with you to open up the dialogue. We've had essentially 6 work days since this administration has been in office. Unfortunately, I've had a virus for 2 of them, not your problem, but mine. And I'm tackling a lot of things, but we will get together very shortly. And I'd be very happy in a very forthright and open, frank conversation to hear all of your views. And that will happen.
And I appreciate that. Thank you. I hope you're feeling better. And I think it's important. And I think it's important for you to hear everyone that's here tonight. And I'm very encouraged, and I thank the people that are here, that may be here to show support, but are too afraid to speak. But what they don't realize is that they are also encouraging more people to come next time, and the next time, and the next time. So their presence means a lot, even if they're not up here speaking. And I do look forward to that meeting. I wanted to talk too about budget cuts, because certainly supporting taxpayers, I understand why there could be some cuts in areas. I mean, personally, I would have cut all the personal vehicles. I believe there's 5 personal vehicles being used for the animal shelter. While there are part-time employees that are some of the most valuable employees that you have here, there are ways to do this. You have the Tales of Hope Fund. The town should be making, how much are we spending on mailers? The town should be making an effort to raise, there'd be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in that Tales of Hope Fund by now, so that it wouldn't affect the TNR program. I want to talk a little bit about and I'll make it brief, the lack of the behaviorist. Laura Miller took that test. She worked under Laura Garber. She would have done an outstanding job taking a full-time on-staff position. You need a full-time, that amount of animals with that kind of philosophy. But she wasn't. Instead, she was replaced almost a year later, Laura Garber, with a contracted position at the rate of, I believe, about $75,000 a year for a 20-hour work week. And for someone that is not able to work with the community, with the people that are, there are many people that walk into an animal shelter with their dog because the dog chewed somebody's shoe, and they're ready to release the dog. When they speak to a behaviorist, they find out what they can do and they bring the dog back home. Everything that has been talked about tonight is cost effective in the long run, and it will save taxpayer money. So again, there are things we could talk about at this meeting, but I'm really hopeful that you're open-minded to getting the right leadership in this animal shelter, getting the shelter back on
I
track.
assure you that I am open-minded with everything as it relates to the animal shelter.
I couldn't thank you enough. That was the best thing I've heard so far tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Boytel, I don't know if there's anything new that you didn't cover, but you did fill out a slip for this section of the meeting. Anything new that you didn't mention before that was on the administrative calendar?
It's only 3 minutes. Couldn't recite the Bible.
Noticed in Newsday that, Mr. Supervisor, that you supported the prospect of the proposed Belmont casino plan.
Well, what I said was that what I said most specifically, as it was quoted in Newsday, and it was quoted exactly correctly, was that unless we are willing as a community to give up the revenue, which has been estimated anywhere between $20 and $30 million, that a video lottery terminal facility would generate for Nassau County, as well as the attendant economic development and permanent job creation. Unless we were willing to give that up, it seemed to me that the best location for it would be a location where wagering on horse racing has existed for over 100 years. That's exactly what I said.
Very good. And I'd like to suggest that some of the assumptions contained in your statement should be carefully reviewed by yourself and the rest of this body. And there probably ought to be a public session in which the whole issue of development in the town of Hempstead, both in and of
If I may just interject, and it won't come out of your time, you do understand that the town of Hempstead has no jurisdiction over this whatsoever. I was asked by a reporter my opinion. I stated my opinion. This is a facility that is going on state property. The town has no zoning jurisdiction, has no permitting jurisdiction whatsoever. It is purely a matter that is up to the state of New York. The town cannot effectuate anything with respect to the siting of the facility, of the proposed facility there. We can, however, obviously, should it be located there, we would obviously work with surrounding communities to make sure that if there were any actual, as opposed to perceived fears, if there were any, that there would be, minimal impact or no impact, if possible, with respect to traffic and things of that nature. So we don't have any jurisdiction over the actual siting of the facility there. State facility, it's a state decision, it's not ours. But again, I was asked by a reporter what my opinion was, and I made it very clear. If we want the revenue, and it is sizable revenue, and there is even, through the host fee provision, there's revenue for the town of Hempstead, which could be used for roads and infrastructure in communities surrounding Belmont. I thought, in terms of that a location that has already been the host of horse race racing for many, many years would be the right place. But again, I wanted to make it clear that the town has no jurisdiction over this whatsoever. We don't have a veto. We don't have any role to play in the actual siting decision.
Well, I would disagree with you when you say you have no role to play. You are the elected representatives of the people of the town of Hempstead. To the extent that something occurs here for better or for worse, you stand in a position to be able, with some authority, not to speak for or against something.
Well, I did that. You may not agree with me, but I did that.
So that's why I'm suggesting that you...
But that's where it ends. There is nothing that the town can do administratively, there's nothing the town can do by way of resolution, by way of ordinance, to effectuate anything with respect to that.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay, now keep on talking about it.
Except, to the extent that
It was acceptable.
you give me an opportunity to speak in one continuous
Go ahead.
paragraph at least.
Yes.
The question of whether this facility would bring in substantial revenue and whether the best allocation of resources for the improvement of the economy of the area would be the creation of a gambling facility or an additional gambling facility and the promotion of additional gambling. That is an issue that I suggest there's been a great deal of distortion on. Not by you. I mean, I think in part you have tended to adopt what is being said. And I'm suggesting that you ought to review that matter. There has not been one study that I've seen at least, and I suggest you haven't either, and if you have, please tell us about it, that says that the gross annual product of the town of Hempstead or the county of Nassau or the region is going to be increased by this gambling facility. What it really, when you talk about $20 million, what you're really saying is we are going to promote additional conduct which for many generations was prosecuted as criminal and was deemed a vice. We are going to promote that in the area, and so we're going to have money that is recirculated in the area through this facility from which governmental authorities will take their cut as some people, a small number of them, take away their winnings. I suggest that what we really ought to be concerned about is increasing the gross annual product of the region. And what isn't happening is nothing along those lines. In fact, the gross annual product is being decreased, not increased. And the impact is constantly being thrown back on people in the form of reduction, increase in taxes, reduction of facilities, reduction of maintenance, and a lot of other things. One thing that stands out about a facility like this, though, which tends to get a lot of political support, and I'm not suggesting that's what you're doing. What I'm suggesting is it tends to get a lot of political support, is that it increases the patronage available to the political parties. And that is one of the things I suggest that we have to be concerned about. That really what we're doing here is creating just one more burden on the system, on the economic system, instead of acting in a way that increases the substantive gross annual product of the region. I haven't heard that phrase even used in this body or in the Nassau County Legislature. I regularly monitor what they do as well. Nobody's talking about gross annual product. They're talking about fees, more fees on people, more taxes on people. Let's use what formerly was called a vice to induce people to part with their money. If this town or this county, if it was suggested to you that you ought to take $1 million and put it down at the track or down in these facilities to get more money for the town, you'd say we'd be crazy, that would be irresponsible. But what we are doing is suggesting that the people do that, which really is not in accordance with anything that I would call good government or, I suppose I should say, even conservative government. Thank you.
Mr. Butcher, let me ask you a couple of questions. How would you answer the argument that there is a very similar facility that does very, very well at Aqueduct, which is about 10 miles away, and the revenue generated there goes to the city of New York? The town of Hempstead, Nassau County, gets no part of that revenue, although there must be Well, I can't quantify it, I haven't seen a study, but I'm sure just by anecdotal evidence from people that I know who live in Nassau County, who visit that facility at Aqueduct, that there are a lot of Nassau residents who go there and participate in an additional gaming alternative to the gaming, the horse race racing that goes on there. All of that revenue in that facility at Aqueduct, all of the revenue, the part of it that is the government and the host communities portion of that revenue, all of that goes to the city of New York, whereas we are foregoing that completely, and it exists 10 miles away. How do you address that issue?
I would address it by saying that this town would be better advised to counsel the citizenry not to waste their money on gambling than counseling them to come to a new gambling facility which will be more convenient and more likely. And by the way, you know, you can talk about how there has been a gambling facility of a sort in terms of horse racing for a long time. A great racetrack, a nationally renowned racetrack, no doubt about it. But you can't say that they are the same kind of activity. Playing slot machines and that sort of thing is not the same as going to a horse race. You can at least suggest that horse racing has some element of entertainment to it, some element of group participation.
I guess you don't know anybody who really goes and plays slot machines, because there some people are very interested in it. I mean, you still see them going down to Atlantic City from senior centers and clubs all over the place. They go down to Atlantic City. But let me ask you just one other last little question, because I know you were about to step down, and that's fine. But I just, you know, in terms of this whole question of gambling and things of that nature, it is a legal activity. It's been a legal activity in New York State for quite some time, and in other parts of the country for much longer. But just by a show of hands, I would like people to indicate in this audience whether or not they have purchased a Powerball ticket. It'll last. Thank you very much, Mr. President. The whole room is full of hands. What's that?
Time's up. 3
It establishes that people have different forms of, that participate in different forms of entertainment. And people participate in Powerball because there's an entertainment value to it, and it's a very, very common activity throughout the country. And if you would have turned around, you would have seen 80% of the audience had their hands up that they purchased the Powerball. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we've got a couple more.
We did it at Belmont.
I don't know if Ms. Merriday is still here. I think she covered you. If you have more, come on up.
For the record, Rita J. Merriday, 758 West Main Street, Baldwin. And yes, Supervisor Santino, I have to get used to saying that now. Just had a couple of points. Always encouraged by the advocates who attend meetings on a regular basis with regard to protection of our animals, and I just wish that we had more people on a regular basis who would step forward before we had a tragedy as it pertains to the veteran community. We do well with the parades, we do well with the pancake breakfasts, and you get all of your elected officials showing up right before an election, but once the dust settles, everybody kind of goes back into their little protective little hovels, and the fact that we're losing 20 veterans at an estimated rate daily is something that continues to empower me to move forward. And I had a question in terms of something that I believe that the previous board, and it's just amazing to me that it's pretty much the same people sitting here, but it's different titles, so I'm not really sure how much of a transition really had to take place, but if you need to have one, then I guess you did. But there was a mobile veterans suite that I had asked about. That was a part of the previous budget that was supposed to address things of feral cats and things of that nature, and I questioned why we were putting funding into something like that. Notwithstanding, our animals do need support services, but we can't seem to get any kind of transport support or anything like that for our veterans in this township. And considering that Long Island has the largest veteran population in the state, Suffolk County has the largest as far as a county. I still believe that we need to be doing more, and since I often travel behind Greenfield Cemetery, I so often see the Town of Hempstead mobile office parked behind the cemetery. I'm not really sure how much effective work the mobile office can do for the dead people of Greenfield Cemetery, but I think it might be of more use if it was actually out on the streets where the community residents are. And my other concern has to do with the Coliseum project, which I believe, from what I've been reading, that construction process has been delayed. I've also asked with regard to the good faith effort in terms of the diversity in the construction process itself, and I've also brought this up at the county level, that it's not just enough to say on paper that you're exhibiting a good faith effort to make sure that you have a diverse body in terms of the construction work. Now, even the federal government is looking for actual results. So just to say that you're following a model that's set by the county and or the state, that is not enough.
And of course, you know, Ms. Maraday, that we play no role whatsoever in the construction of the Coliseum other than the zoning and permitting authority in terms of what firms get hired and how that's all done with respect to that. That is under the purview of Nassau County that owns the property. We have no jurisdiction whatsoever.
I do understand that. And also there were some extensive meetings that took place within the township with regard to that, and a lot of the concerns that the residents had, that they got assurances from this township in terms of talking to the developers about their involvement. So there still is a responsibility from the township standpoint to speak to those issues, because I'm sure representatives from this body will be standing up when they do the ribbon cutting to walk in. So I'm just saying, you know, we all have a responsibility to make sure that we talk about what's not being done, because we do not have a diverse workforce in the township of Hempstead. The workforce is not diverse. The outreach for that workforce is not diverse. The supplier base is not diverse. So we can continue to talk about it, and in a week or two, there could be another Newsday expose about who got what contract based upon what relationship with who, and we will still come back to the same scenario. And we are still asking, as we, the taxpayers, have to bear the burden for the township and the county acquiring additional law firms, and the names of these law firms under item 33. You know, I know that there are some people who work for those law firms that either sat behind that desk or they sat behind the desk over on Franklin. So I'm just trying to keep it realistic, because I would really like to stay on Long Island, but it's really getting too costly for us to be here, and we're becoming an embarrassment in terms of the level of patronage, nepotism, and things of that nature that are really undermining what we're doing here. So if someone could, as I said, and as the previous speaker, we can't look at those numbers and not understand that we need to come up with other forms of revenue to maintain and bring down the tax base. And that $20 million is flawed. Because again, the county model also felt that the privatization of the bus system was going to save taxpayers money. That didn't happen. The red light cameras, that didn't work. The precinct consolidations, that didn't work. The sweetheart patronage deals, clearly, that's not working. So let us try to work together in 2016 so that we are inclusive, we are diverse, we are cost effective, and finally and most importantly, we take a stronger stand, and hopefully we can expand the veteran program for the town of Hempstead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Matthew Sexton. your address for the record, sir.
Matthew Sexton, 201 Verbena Avenue, Floral Park, New York. I'm here this evening representing the grassroots efforts from the communities of Floral Park, Elmont, Belmont, South Floral Park, as well as last night, those communities that you don't have jurisdiction over, representing Queens Community Board 13, in our absolute being against the proposed BLT casino at Belmont Park. I'm not here today to talk about the fantasy $20 million in revenue that will be generated by Nassau OTB. Nassau OTB is an agency that doesn't run at a profit, even though they have a monopoly of the business here in the county, who will be competing against Gentley, an international publicly traded company that makes billions of dollars hands over fist. I'm here today to discuss how this will affect the communities at the micro, the macro, and the meso level. At the meso level, this project will increase traffic and tax an already taxed infrastructure. It will cause an increase in commercial traffic as well as regular old vehicles as people hop onto the Cross Island Parkway, something that doesn't really work that well. It's already overtaxed. It's going to hop onto Hempstead Turnpike, a road that has really been left to fall into disrepair. As well as the fact that the meso level is going to be with the vicinity of 6 schools, one of those schools actually being on the grounds of Belmont Park. Another factor, the potential crime. I know the big rebuttal that everyone says is, Yonkers crime has gone down. Well, I haven't seen anywhere in the plan of Nassau County building a police department similar to Yonkers Raceway, which is built right outside of Yonkers Raceway. As well as the fact that security staff at Yonkers Raceway dress similarly to the police at Yonkers Raceway, which is a fantastic deterrent if you're losing in a slot machine and want to go beat it up or cause some other problems within the facility. At the meso level, as I mentioned, you have people who are going to school there. You have children who are going to be going up in the morning, hopping on their bus. This facility is going to close at 6 o'clock in the morning. We don't know if somebody may have an all-night bender, go to the casino, possibly doing illicit drugs, and then hop behind a car and possibly mow down a child as they're waiting for the bus to go to school. At the micro level, I know before, we asked everybody to raise their hands and say, who here bought a Powerball ticket? Well, there's a major difference between a Powerball ticket and a VLT. A VLT is something that's created to basically create the same kind of an addiction as crack cocaine. Evidence-based research, specifically by MIT, has shown that VLTs, the ringing of the lights, the dinging of the bells, the constant stimulation, your ability to just hit a button and repeatedly bet over and over and over again, has the same impact on an individual as crack cocaine. And for a little bit, just so you know, dopamine, which is the same exact neurotransmitter that is, it's stimulated by crack cocaine, is the neurotransmitter that causes motivation. In some instances, it causes us to do things that turn out okay, but oftentimes, dopamine is responsible for more poor decision making. So, I ask you this today. If an agency came in and said that they wanted to open up a crack cocaine dealership at the Belmont Park, if they wanted to have some hardworking individuals within our community come there and become addicted to such a thing, would you approve it? Or would you stand up with the grassroots community and be against it and come up with a better plan of development to the Elmont Floral Park, South Floral Park area?
Anything else, Mr. Sexton?
Do you have any questions for me?
No. Do you have anything else you need to say to us?
That's it.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Felix Procacci.
If I do win Powerball, I'll still be at the next town board meeting. On the issue of the budget, as far as saving money, I've been here for 5 years, over 5 years, and I didn't talk kind of because I'm trying to abide by the clock, but we voted on a website. People who construct a website, it's $100 an hour for people who construct a website. What I've done is quite extensive. If you ask them to do this, you should get a quote. How many hours do they estimate it would take to do this from scratch if they didn't have the code already done? I'm all for saving money. And the deaf people, the hearing impaired people, the people who can't make it to this meeting tonight, my cameras are focused on the lady over here to ensure that if a deaf person, a hearing impaired person is watching this video, they'll be able to understand what's happening at this meeting. If we are concerned about the hearing impaired, or if we are concerned, really concerned about the disabled people, we'll implement what I'm giving to the town of Hempstead for free. For free. Put a link on your website to this, and I promise this will not go down. If it goes down, it will go right back up immediately. I have a duplicate. I will be as reliable as I possibly can to keep this so you don't have to expend the funds to hire the developer at $100 an hour to develop this. I have it done. You can take a look at it. The next meeting, let me know what you think. On the Franklin Square Park Department, we borrowed $3.6 million. Did we get any appraisals as to how much it was going to cost to repair those parks?
Mr. Conroy, Commissioner Zapola.
Exactly what's the question?
Did we, before we borrowed the money, the $3.6 million, $400,000 is my understanding was earmarked for repairs. Did we get any estimates before we went out to the bond market and borrowed this money?
Mr. Rob?
We have appraisals to the cost of the property, and there was an estimate done by the Parks Department of what repairs would have to be made, and that's where that other number came from.
400,000, because I foiled all the documents. The actual cost, which you did for the backstops, was $21,000 and change, a couple of $5,000 on sod and topsoil and everything. And then another repair that was earmarked to be done, the lighting, which is proposed at $176,000. I asked, when I foiled the documents, all the requests for bids. Nothing came back in the foil. Were there any requests for bids done on items costing over $10,000?
I'm not exactly sure what you mean.
Sure.
Mr. Conroy is the town controller.
When we go out to borrow money for that particular park district, we have to identify, A, what we're buying, what's the present value for the property itself. And then there was an estimate as to what the improvements were. And that's identified specifically and itemized in the borrow. So the Parks Department came up and they identified, for example, backstops, I think there was fencing, as you pointed out, there was some grass work that had to be done. That's at the preliminary stage, that's at the borrowing stage. So whether any proposals or any of that, that's premature at this point. This is an estimate to go out into the market to borrow money to actually secure the property and have monies available when we need to make those improvements.
Understand, the property cost $3.2 million. We borrowed $3.6 million. I'm roughing it out because there's some change. So that's $400,000. You have a proposal for lighting, but I mean, the question is, you now borrowed money. We have paid interest, over a year of interest we've paid now. Because we borrowed it last December, so it's over a year, and we've only done the backstops. We got one proposal. I asked for the request for bids, the actual notices that go into the paper. Nothing came back in my FOIL request. For the lighting, which is $176,000, I asked for the actual notices that go in the paper so other different installers could give you a bid as to what they will charge you. Nothing came back in the FOIL.
Mr. Prakash, we're at the stage where we had to tee it up to borrow the money based upon an estimate by the Parks Department as to what the improvements would cost.
You're misunderstanding. You're misunderstanding. I'm saying you're misunderstanding. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're misunderstanding. We already borrowed them. Now it's after the fact. I'm not talking about that now.
Based upon it.
Okay, whatever that was, okay. The $3.6 million was, 3.2 was spent. Now we went to a installer of backstops and we actually did the work. But we only got one bid. We had no notices, according to my FOIA request, that were put in the paper, the bid for work actually done. I'm not talking about before the borrowing. I'm talking after the borrowing, we got the money, there were no notices put in, And by law, I've been here for a long time, my understanding, Mr. Rod always says, over $10,000, you must have competitive bidding. There was no competitive bidding, according to the FOIL request I got, if they forgot to put it in, maybe they could give it to me, for the backstops, which are over $10,000 each, and for the lighting, which is $176,000. So there's no, you're giving it to one installer without going to competitive bidding. That's my point.
The backstop was done pursuant to a contract that we had that was awarded pursuant to a bid. In other words, he bid on backstops. Not just on that backstop, he bid on a number of backstops. And that's why that's how that backstop was installed.
So if I FOIL the documents, did I get that notice that was put in the paper for that group of backstops?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so then can I get the notice that was put in the paper for the lighting?
Now, and the lighting was bid.
But they didn't provide me with that in the FOIL request.
Okay, did you already bid the lighting, or is it? We're not there yet. We haven't done the lighting.
You got one, I got one in my files here. I do have one installer that you gave me $176,000. You only got one. Why did you do that before you put it in the paper?
It's an estimate. We have to provide an estimate to go out to bid with.
No, but he gave you the estimate. The guy gave you the estimate.
We haven't done.
How'd you get to him if you didn't put it in the paper?
What the departments sometimes do is go to a vendor and say, what do you think this would cost? And we get an estimate. Then that way, when we bid the item, if somebody comes in at $50,000, we know there's probably something wrong. And if somebody comes in at $300,000, we know there's something wrong. So sometimes they get an idea of what the cost is going to be, so that when the bids come in, they know that it's kind of in line.
I never heard of that before. I thought you have the idea of going down the bid is to do exactly what you just
But
said.
he didn't get the award to do the work. Whatever you're looking at is not the person who's doing the work. The item has not yet been bid.
Well, I don't know that because no one gave me any documents for either the backstop or for this, so I'm only going by what comes back to me. I can't speak to something I don't know.
Well, the reason you didn't get the bid document is because it has not yet been bid.
I didn't get the bid document for the backstops because
perhaps it wasn't, the way you asked for it, perhaps it wasn't there, but we'll take a look at that and we'll get it to you.
okay. Anyway, once again, you can save $100 an hour. You use my website. Thank you.
Thank you very much.